Welcome to the first program of our series, American Folk Heroes of the 20th Century. I hope you enjoy our efforts. For some of you, this will provide a pleasant look backward and a visit with old friends. The younger members of our viewing audience will meet for the first time, perhaps, a variety of interesting characters. You are probably wondering about the pictures you saw in our opening. They set the stage in a way for what is to follow. You see, the basis of our series is that this great country of ours has produced a number of folk heroes, fictional celebrities, if you will, as a result of the social climate of a particular period. Let me put it another way. Depending upon what is going on in our country at a particular time, what war we are engaged in, our economic condition, our entertainment sources, and so on, our people, particularly the young people, will make celebrities out of certain public figures, or accept fictional characters as heroes. We are no different than any other culture, and we've been making heroes for decades. Boys and girls of the 19th century were stirred by the adventures of Bat Masterson and Buffalo Bill Cody as they appeared in monthly magazines. Youngsters at an earlier age were fascinated by the stories of Paul Bunyan and Johnny Appleseed as they were told around the hearth of a burning fire. George Washington, Daniel Boone, Andrew Jackson are all real people and were heroes to the young. But our society has also made room for a number of individuals that never really existed. Yet we spoke of their exploits over and over and spoke of them as if we knew them as well as the man next door. A hero, by definition, is a number of things. He is an individual of distinguished valor or performance. In addition, he is one vested with noble qualities. Finally, we may even ascribe to the hero the characteristics of an immortal place somewhere between man and the gods. So our series will be concerned with folk heroes, fictional characters they never really lived. And how did these make-believe persons enter into the mainstream of our lives? Since we are concerned with folk heroes of this century, let's examine the path these characters traveled. There are countless heroes described in books and magazines. As the 20th century grew older, comic books created new models for the young. Recognize this? In the 1920s, radio entered our lives. Not the radio of today filled with music and news, but programming of a different nature, hours of variety shows, comedies, dramas, and serials. Radio was limited to sound alone, but it magically piqued the imagination, and its leading characters came to life in our mind's eye. And motion pictures, introduced at the turn of the century, and in less than 20 years, it was an entertainment source for all ages. At first, a silent monochrome image flickering in the darkness to the tinkle of an upright piano. Then, in the late 20s, picture and sound were combined, and by the mid-30s, movies were alive with color by Technicolor. This is how the unreal assumed a reality in our lives. As children and adults, we accepted the characters of print, sight, and sound as members of our inner circle of friends. Let's review what we've discussed so we're sure that everyone understands where we are going. First, we are concerned with folk heroes, who, by definition, are fictional or imaginary characters. Secondly, we are interested in the existing social environment at the time these folk heroes first appeared. What year was it? What was our economy like? What were the most popular forms of entertainment? We shall study any other relevant information which might help us to decide how this character could suddenly appear and become a national celebrity. We know as well that each character has come to us through a particular medium of communication. Storytelling, books, radio, and motion pictures are all avenues by which these make-believe beings have been made a part of our lives. Finally, in each program we shall provide you with a sample of the hero at his best. We will attempt to actually recreate a typical situation. In this way, we may hope to better understand the hero and the reasons for his popularity. Well, the groundwork is laid now. We could go on talking about concepts and analysis forever. Suppose we let this magnificent medium of television provide us with our first step backward. Come with me now as we regress 4 decades. Let's pretend that we are all boys and girls living in the early 1930s. Yes, the Depression years, a time of hardship and suffering. But from this era of deprivation and disaster emerged an individual who is the model of every American boy and girl.
Have you tried Wheaties? They're whole wheat with all of the bran. Jack Armstrong, the all-American boy. Wave the flag for Hudson High, boys. Show them how we stand. Ever shall our team be champions, known throughout the land. Wheaties, breakfast of champions, bring you the thrilling adventures of Jack Armstrong, the all-American boy.
Jack Armstrong, the All-American Boy, the creation of Robert Hardy Andrews, was first broadcast in 1933. By the early 1940s, this show had become one of the most popular series in the history of radio. Jack himself was a stalwart young man who was the #1 student at Hudson High School. He was an outstanding scholar, a leading athlete, and a popular young fellow with other students as well as teachers. Boys and girls became involved with Jack's adventures through the show itself and a variety of free gifts available for a few pennies handling charge and several box tops from Jack's longtime sponsor, Wheaties. Jack his two younger friends, Billy and Betty Fairfield, and their dashing Uncle Jim Fairfield, sought out wrongdoers not only on the campus of Hudson High, but the world at large. And in what kind of world did Jack's voice echo? 1933 had seen the first efforts of President Franklin D. Roosevelt combating a depression that left the greater portion of our nation hungry and out of work. Many fathers were unemployed. They sought a variety of jobs whereby they might support their families. In that same year, Japan invaded Manchuria. In Europe, a short little Austrian with a funny mustache was promising to rebuild the fatherland. The newspapers brought news of economic collapse at home and trouble in Europe. During the 30s, people openly sought escape from the trouble of reality. When you could put a couple of nickels together, you went to the movies. Hollywood was grinding out hundreds of films, filling the silver screen with glamour and excitement. If you stayed at home, which many families did, there were hours of free entertainment brought to you in living sound. The pictures were formed in your mind's eye. Those early years of radio provided a number of serials for adult listening. Jack Armstrong was a program designed to entertain the youngsters, and entertain it did. Jack was the epitome of what every boy imagined he could be. This was a time when we still believed that problems could be solved by one man. We were willing to accept a strong champion who could show the way. We believed deeply in our country, as poor as it was, and in the superhero that Jack was to become. During those years, he uncovered spies and sabotage during World War II. Depression, foreign entanglements, war, espionage, none was too great a challenge for this individual. He was a young man for all seasons. He was the invincible Jack Armstrong, the all-American boy.
Jack, I was afraid that you had already gone to practice.
No, Billy, I'm not going to practice today. The coach said that since that lucky grand slam I hit yesterday, one they gave me in Silldale High, there would be no practice this afternoon. But you're flushed and out of breath. What on earth is the matter?
Gee Wilkers, Jack, something really important has come up. Uncle Jim called and asked that I bring you to Professor Talon's house right away.
But those of us who are in the science club are to meet with Professor Talon, our sponsor, this evening. We're going to be working on our science projects for extra credit. Can't it wait until then?
There's a time. Whatever the problem is, Uncle Jim wants to join him at Professor Talon's house right away.
Then let's get moving.
Captain Fairfield, I must be getting senile. I simply cannot remember where I put the hystrometer. My own invention, and I can't remember what I did with it.
Take it easy, Professor Talon. Please, call me Jim. My rank in Army intelligence is something of a secret.
I'm sorry. Of course, Jim. I've messed things up pretty badly so far. I certainly don't want to give away any military secrets.
Don't be too upset, Professor Talon. I am confident that we can resolve the problem of this missing instrument without a great deal of trouble.
But if it should fall into the wrong hands, if my hystrometer should be delivered to our enemies, their result might spell disaster.
True enough, Professor Talon. Should our philosophical foes claim your new invention, it might create chaos in outer space. They would be able to control. I'd rather not think of it.
Jim, where could I have left that machine? I've racked my brains. I simply cannot... Who could I... Yes, come in.
We got here as quickly and safely as we could, Uncle Jim. Professor Talon, you look distraught. What has happened?
A major catastrophe, Jack, my boy.
Jack, what we are about to discuss here is top secret information. Our country's future is at stake. You and Billy must pledge to keep this matter in the strictest of confidence.
You have my word, Uncle Jim.
And mine, too. I won't tell anyone. You can count on me.
I knew I could depend on you two. This is the problem. Professor Talent has misplaced a new invention of his, a hystrometer.
A hystrometer? What's that?
Billy, this device is an experiment which I've been conducting for our country. The hystrometer has the ability to withdraw moisture from outer space and turn it into rocket fuel.
Golly gee, Professor. You mean that...
Quiet, Billy. Let the professor continue.
Late last evening, I took the machine with me and went walking. I was going to conduct a little experiment on Apple Hill. Well, my tests worked out fine. But on the way back from Apple Hill, somehow I lost the hystrometer. I tried to remember where I stopped, but it just...
Take it easy, Professor Talent. You've tried remembering for hours. I'm sure with Jack's assistance, we can locate the missing machine.
How can I help, Uncle Jim?
Jack, I don't want to draw attention to this matter. Not just yet. Professor Talent has told me of the science club which meets here this evening. As president, I'd hope you might recruit several members to help us search for the hystrometer.
I understand, Uncle Jim. You figured that boys and girls with an interest in science might be better able to recognize such a sophisticated piece of equipment.
That's correct. I figured that's...
Yes, come in.
I tried to catch up to you, boys, but you ran too fast. Oh, Betty, this is no place for you. This is men's talk.
No, wait, Billy. As secretary of the science club, Betty can be of invaluable assistance. I'll gather the club members right away, Uncle Jim. We'll start here and cut in the area down Maple Street to Apple Hill. Don't you worry, Professor Talent. We'll locate your hydrometer. Okay, everyone. I'm glad you could all get here so quickly. We explained our job over the telephone. Now you all know your routes. Now we've got to spread out.
Jack, I don't know if it means anything, but on my way back over here, I saw Monty Duval and his sister Gwendolyn.
Yeah. Wait a minute, everyone. Monty Duval and his sister Gwendolyn are fellow students.
But Jack, they lie, cheat, and constantly try to act like big shots.
It makes little difference, Billy. We must all try to win them over to our side and show them that they are wrong. They are still our friends, no matter how nasty they may act.
Yeah, Jack. But Jack, listen. They had a large cardboard box, and when I asked if they wanted to come and help us, they just laughed. They wouldn't show me what they had.
There might be something to that, Betty. Perhaps I'd better investigate. The rest of you know what routes to follow. Spread out and look for that machine.
All right, Jack.
Billy, you go to Professor Talon's house and tell him and Uncle Jim what has happened. Betty, you lead me to Monty and Gwendolyn Duval.
Okay, Jack. They're on 3rd Street, right behind Hudson High. Right away, Jack.
Let's go, Betty.
Monty, do you think we've done the right thing? Would you just keep quiet and let me do the thinking? I told you last night when we found this thing that we could probably collect a reward for returning it. Yes, but why'd you have to call Mrs. Snape? I don't like her. She's sort of creepy. Because I said that Mrs. Snape would know what to do. She told our parents to make us give this thing back. Mrs. Snape said that she and some friends would be by here this afternoon to help make arrangements to return this machine. Whatever it is. Will she keep the reward? I'd like to see her try.
Oh, we'll share a little with her, since she's gone to so much trouble. But most of the reward is ours. We found it.
Oh, look, here comes Mrs. Snape's car now.
Well, Monty and Gwendolyn, do you have the device that you described to me on the telephone?
Yes, Mrs. Snape, it's right here.
Give it to me, kid.
Not so fast. What about the reward, Mrs. Snape?
Why, yes, Monty, I have 50 cents right here.
50 cents? Who are you kidding? I'm sure the owner would spend at least...
I said, give me the box, kid.
Let's not forget who's giving the orders around here.
What if the coppers catch us here in the corner?
Coppers? What do the police have to do with this? Oh, Monty, let's get out of here.
My friend has spoken too freely. I'm afraid I'll have to ask you to get into the car with us.
But why? We were only...
Because they're trying to steal a military secret, Monty.
Jack Armstrong, what are you doing here? What do you mean, a military secret?
Very simply, Monty. Mrs. Snape and her two companions are undercover agents for a foreign government. I know that because Uncle Jim Fairfield has had her house under surveillance for some time now. You stumbled onto a military secret by accident, and Mrs. Snape intends to take it to her government.
You're quite right, my young friend. I'm afraid you all know too much. Give me that, you greedy little boy. Get...
Quit, boy.
Try that, Mrs. Snape. I'm Captain James Fairfield of Army Intelligence. You and your accomplices are under arrest.
I can't tell you how happy I am now that the hydrometer is back. This is too good to be true.
And thanks to Jack, 3 dangerous criminals are safely behind bars as well.
What about the valves, Uncle Jim? What'll happen to them?
Well, they're only guilty of not reporting when they found the machine. They had no idea Miss Snape was a foreign agent. They were severely reprimanded and returned to their parents.
I know what you said, Jack, but I still find it hard to trust Monty and Gwendolyn Duval.
Their intentions may have been greedy, Billy, but Uncle Jim's right. They're not really criminals.
You're a generous boy, Jack, and a brave one. Stopping those agents from stealing my invention saved our country. You've located this valuable equipment, helped capture 3 dangerous individuals, and protected our country. You're a fine American, Jack Armstrong.
What did you think of Jack Armstrong? Did you enjoy the sample program? Were you able to learn anything about this folk hero? Could you answer these questions? What year was Jack Armstrong first introduced? What world events were taking place? What medium provided for his growth and development? We trust you have enjoyed this first program in our series. We also hope that you might have learned a little something from it. To test yourself, we have a printed question sheet to give you. Just for fun, see how much you really did learn from this tele-lesson. For now, this is Sharon Marlowe asking you to join us in the next program in our series, American Folk Heroes of the 20th Century.